What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Strategy Show, presented by Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports. I'm Dave Loughran at Loughy_D. For those of you podcast listeners, LOUGHY_D, joined by Ship My Money DFS. You may know him as Adam Scherer. What's going on, bro? A little 8-gamer today to kick off the week.
Yeah, another nice slate of not a lot of games, not too few games. Should be fun. I'm in a better mood now because I hadn't refreshed projections yet and I didn't realize it. So I looked and I was like, damn it, the Raptors are playing again, like they play every day. But that was yesterday, so no Raptors today, which makes me really happy.
Yeah, thank God, right? I mean, I've had enough of that. You do have a Warriors team, though, that is without everybody. So that should be fun.
Yeah, and the pricing didn't move.
No, not at all. The pricing didn't move. And then just a couple of other spots, like Anthony Simons being out is pretty significant, right? So we'll get into all of that. Portland, just an atrocious team, but I think that's the goal at this point. So anyway, we got 8 games. Happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Just, right when you walk in, only takes a second. And subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want to join, hit that join down below. You get the free super chats each month, the custom emojis, those sweet badges, as you see in chat already. And we'll always prioritize your questions along with our premium Discord members. So anyway, man, here we are, 8 games. And I think we could just dive right into this one, Adam, because 8 games usually takes a little bit of time. So we'll kick it off with this. Chris Smith with the super chat said, good morning, best morning show so far. Thanks, man. And great zombie show yesterday. I hit big on Prize Picks yesterday. This is to show my appreciation. Congrats, dude. Thank you. Yeah, I was saying it's weird that The Walking Dead doesn't have any kid zombies, but in real life, there'd be, a ton of kid zombies.
Sure. Yeah.
No?
I've never seen Walking Dead.
Oh, okay. Oh, we got it set up, huh, Jordan? Oh, okay. Good stuff, man. Pop on the screen real quick and just tell me what we've got going on here.
Yeah, so we got super chats. They're going to come down in the topics bar. And then we got members and subscribers will be up here at the very top by the banner where the Yahoo banner is, just to the left of it. Subscribers and new members will pop up there. So
sweet. And then, okay, so super chats and questions and stuff we got popping up too. All right, I'm all about it. Making big strides here. Big things happening on the Awesemo YouTube channel. Let's dive into this one, man. 8 games. Want to make sure we get it all in here. Atlanta and Detroit. The Hawks on the road in this one are 7.5-point favorites. 225.5 total. We saw John Collins return last game. Played 25 minutes off the bench. And then you've got this one. Really, Kevin Huerter's the only news that we're waiting on. We'll kick it off with Trae Young. And let me ask you a question, because I'm not on the deeper dive with you tonight. I'm on Live Before Lock with Josh. You're on with Greg on the deeper dive. Among all of the high-priced players, are there any guys out of the gate, and is Trae Young one of them that you're looking to prioritize today?
I don't think there's necessarily one that at their salary stands out above the rest. I certainly think Trae Young is in a good spot and somebody that I'll be playing a lot of. But at least right now, I don't think it looks like a slate where you have one standout option at the top. I think it's just a bunch of really good plays.
Yeah, and we'll also have to pay attention to this DeJounte Murray news, because I wouldn't be shocked if he sits on the second of a back-to-back today, a team that's 24 and 40 or whatever they are.
Yeah, he sat the last back-to-back too, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah. I bet the Lakers money line. I figure why not. Plus, LeBron James will get into those grooves where he just starts going crazy and carrying this team as the season wears on. I think it's possible that happens, coming off a 56-point game in that win over the Warriors. But back to the Hawks. What do you want to do at the top here with Trae? And are you assuming that Collins is back in the starting lineup today after coming off the bench?
Yeah, I'm not super confident in that, but I wouldn't expect him to be coming off the bench for too long. And the fact that he played 25 minutes suggests that he's not very far away, I think. I mean, when he starts, typically you're getting 30, 31 minutes, so it's not like you're talking about a huge gap there. So for now, I'm assuming he starts. Obviously, he could come off the bench again. But at 6,100, if he does start, he looks pretty good. Clearly, it's a good matchup against Detroit, but if you're getting 30, 31 minutes from Collins at 6,100, that's going to look pretty good. The one caveat is whenever we talk about mid-range guys that look pretty good on this slate, you have to keep in mind that you have an entire Golden State team of cheap/mid-range guys that look extremely good because half the team is resting. So keep that in mind. But Collins at 6,100 clearly would look good. Trae Young still looks good at 10-2. We know his usage rate goes down a little bit. His point per minute production goes down a little bit when he's playing with John Collins, but still a massive ceiling, still a good spot for him. So I think those are the two that really stand out from Atlanta. You mentioned the Herter news. If he's out, you certainly get, I think, more solidified playing time for DeAndre Hunter, maybe for Gallinari, for Bogdanovich, but they're also not expensive, but I think still secondary options.
Yeah, there's not a lot. What if Herter's out?
I just said that.
My fault. I was reading chat. I thought it was my mic. I thought my mic was that your mic, Jordan? That was on you? Okay, just wanted to make sure because I've had that static issue before. Okay. All right, you covered it. Good. Now we're clear. With Detroit, though, Cade Cunningham continues to come in basically at the same price every week or every game. And I think it's reasonable. Like 7,500 seems okay. The interesting thing about him recently, Adam, is he's been more consistent lately. He's had, I think, one game against, of course, Toronto, where he popped off, but he hasn't been showing that insanely low floor, but he also just has been in that same range. Like he's just in that same channel every single game. And on an 8-game slate against Atlanta, he's getting around 15% right now, but it is hard to ever see him as a priority.
Yeah, and the one thing to keep in mind, too, as far as the floor goes, is typically that floor doesn't come from a lack of production. It comes from Cunningham picking up fouls at a ridiculous rate and losing minutes. So that's something where, like, yeah, he has been better about it the last 2 games, but I still think, it's going to pop up sooner than later as well. So still a relatively low floor for a guard just based on how frequently he fouls. But he has a ceiling here. He has shooting guard, small forward eligibility. All of that's good. The issue you're just going to run into is that I think he's pretty much fairly priced, and there's a lot of mispricings on this slate. So anytime somebody's fairly priced here, it creates a situation where essentially you can pay up to be contrarian. Like even if you're not overpaying on this slate, I think anybody that's correctly priced can be considered an overpay just because of how cheap a lot of other options are. Right. So you can go that route in tournaments. It should certainly keep his ownership down, but far from anything I'm prioritizing.
This whole game's kind of gross outside of Trae.
Yeah, and Collins if he starts. Yeah, and somebody mentioned it in chat. It's not a back-to-back for the Spurs. I was thinking maybe they had played like in the middle yesterday when you said that, but yeah, they played.
Why did I think it was? For some reason, I don't know why I thought it was. Okay, yeah. You know what? I just read a blurb wrong on him. I thought it said Sunday and not Saturday. Yeah, okay. My fault. Yeah,
because when you said it, I was like, I don't remember playing DeJounte Murray yesterday, and then I was like, then I remembered back to Saturday, and I was like, oh, there were like 2 slates yesterday. I was doing a bunch of stuff. Maybe I did. I don't know.
I know there was the early slate with the 1 and 3:30 games, and then there was the 5 game 7 p.m. slate. And then I thought there might have been an additional couple games in between that I just there was
at least one because Washington played in between.
Pacers, Washington, right? Yeah, I think, but I thought there was a 6 too. I thought one was 5. I don't know. Either way, thank you. You're right. Spurs not on a back-to-back today. Let's talk about Chicago and Philly then. Vooch is questionable, but it looks like he's going to play. Billy Donovan said he's likely to be on the floor tonight, so I'll take that for what it's worth. Plus, he's been questionable / probable a lot lately, and he's always on the court. They're 7.5-point dogs, though. Let's dive into this one a little bit, just given the matchup here. The Sixers will get Harden back. That was clearly just a maintenance day. There's no question about that. He's not on the injury report.
Yeah, I liked I saw somebody's tweet, and it was just like, there was, like a fake conversation between Harden and the Sixers, and the Sixers saying, hey, James, we want to give you a day off. Do you have any preferences on when and like before like Miami?
Yeah, right. I get it. But this is a pretty significant pace down spot. Sixers play at the 3rd slowest pace in the league. If Vooch was out, I still think you could look to a few of these guys, particularly like at DeRozan, but I don't know if that's going to be the case. So given that we both think, I saw you nod your head in agreement, that we both think Vooch is going to play, is there anything you like here?
Not as far as priorities go. I think it's kind of just the same stuff with Chicago. DeRozan, Vooch, LaVine all give you high ceilings, but I think they're priced pretty much correctly. One other thing to keep an eye on is what they do with the starting lineup here. I had said before the game against Milwaukee that so 2 games ago they had closed actually with Tristan Thompson and Vooch alongside each other. I said it in the Milwaukee matchup. I thought that you would get more of that, and then they actually went to Thompson and Vooch together in the starting lineup. It went miserably. Billy Donovan said that he seemed to imply that it's something they're going to keep doing as far as playing them alongside each other, and they kind of just need to work out the kinks. I don't know if that means they're going to start that front court again today. If Tristan Thompson starts at 3,200, he does have power forward eligibility on DraftKings. He still only played 20 minutes last game, so it wouldn't be anything you can be super confident in. But if he starts and plays well and plays 24 minutes, he's probably a good play. But I have no idea if he would even start here in this matchup. I don't think it makes quite as much sense as it did against Milwaukee with the Giannis and Portis front court.
I was going to say, it seems a lot less sensible to start Tristan Thompson alongside Vooch here.
Yeah, I agree. Because like with Milwaukee, it was just like, okay, Thompson stays in the paint, protects the rim against Giannis. Vooch goes and essentially plays the 4 with Bobby Portis, and that works out. Like here, you have one of them would be guarding Tobias Harris. The other one still has to chase Joel Embiid around the 3-point line. It's not the same matchup, I don't think.
Yeah, unless it's just like, it's fine because we don't have to worry about guarding Tobias Harris.
That's also possible.
I say that tongue in cheek, kind of. I mean, but yeah, I mean, at this point, the Sixers are one of those teams where you just have it's pretty obvious what we're getting here. 2 elite players that are going to cannibalize each other's fantasy production to an extent, right? But at the same time, both of them still have big ceilings, and we know that. Joel Embiid's getting around 12%. Harden right now pulling 1% ownership, which is just, it continues to fascinate me. I can't imagine he comes in that low. Again, a decent amount of top tier players on this slate, so I get that. But what's odd to me is what I'm having trouble with, and you talked about this a little bit the other day. I can understand why Harden's ownership is low. I don't understand why Embiid continues at, now he's almost, you could almost say significantly more expensive than Harden. $600, it's enough. I don't understand why he's getting so much more ownership than James Harden on a day-to-day basis. That's what's weird to me.
Yeah, it's weird to me too. I don't get it, especially at the higher price tag. He's at the more premium position. The opportunity cost there is higher in addition to the actual cost being higher. It's not a knock on Embiid. Obviously, he's still capable of having big games, but like why are you going to Embiid over Jokic tonight? For a $600 discount. There's numerous guys that are $1,500 to $2,000 less expensive that are really good. In the 4 games that they've played together so far, Embiid's averaged 1.55 DraftKings points per minute. That's good. 33.8% usage rate, 18% assist percentage. But the issue I have with Embiid, and we've talked about it a lot, is that it's difficult to envision a lot of games where Embiid takes a ton of assists away from James Harden and, scores 35 real points and gets a bunch of assists and gives you the same sort of games that you were getting before Harden came. It's not difficult to imagine that there are some games where Harden just throws up a massive triple-double because he gets his normal rebounding and assist numbers and then, or, a little bit better than normal, and then just scores 35 points. It's more likely you get those games from Harden than from Embiid. So I think that they're both overpriced, but I think Harden's the one that's more likely to just completely put up a score that you just cannot win a slate without.
That's what I thought too. And he already has one of those monster triple doubles, right? He already dropped an 80 DraftKings point game. So it's not like he's, and I'm talking about with Philly. He has a 54% assist rate, 11.5% rebound rate, and a 24% usage rate. So you're not going to ever get that same usage as Joel Embiid and James Harden. Well, from a game, on a certain game you might, but you're never going to average that. But he's been willing to distribute. The thing too is when you look at James Harden right now, with who he's got around him, Maxey just knocking everything down from 3 at him, Joel Embiid being able to do what he wants, particularly in a matchup like this down low, assists are going to come very easy for a guy like James Harden when you're averaging over 20 potential assists per game.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just Harden still shoots, he's a low to mid 20s usage guy. He gets to the line a ton. It's just so much easier for him to have a game where he scores a bunch of points than it is for Embiid to go out there and just grab a bunch of extra rebounds and a bunch of extra assists.
Yep. 42.5 points, rebounds, and assist prop for James Harden today. He's gone over that in 3 or 4 games with Philly, soared over it in a couple of them. And those rates are good enough for me to say yes, please. But from a DFS standpoint, yeah, both of these guys are expensive and like you said, overpriced. Is there anything then from Philly at all?
Not that I really see. I do want to check FanDuel's Harden price. I know that's been cheap recently. Yeah, I mean 10-4 with shooting guard small forward eligibility for Harden on FanDuel I think is a little bit better. And Embiid at 10-9 obviously is more appealing as well. But the issue is that the opportunity cost is even higher since you can only roster the one center. But I do think it's a little bit easier to get to them on FanDuel, particularly Harden with shooting guard small forward. But on DraftKings, there's not much. I mean, Maxey obviously has played really, really well, but I think you've made this point too. Like we expect Maxey to be more efficient than he has because Harden's getting him wide open looks. That doesn't mean that you expect Maxey to keep shooting 70% from three.
Right.
And the issue that I have with Maxey is that at 6,700, let's say he plays like 36 minutes and he averages, 1.15 DraftKings points per minute. I think that's around where he is so far. That's still 1.2 DraftKings points per minute in the 4 games he's played with them. So that gives you, 43 DraftKings points. Obviously, if he does that, you're happy with it at 6,700. But that's still assuming that he just shoots 70%, and that's not going to happen. So it's still, even though he has shown that clearly he can beat that price tag, it's still, I think, a little bit tough to get there, a little bit overpriced. Harris, obviously the opportunities haven't really been there. He hasn't played well. I do think that you see some good Harris games going forward, but right now I don't really think he's at a price point where it's like, oh, he's underpriced and there's value here. It's more so like, yeah, if he plays really well, he can beat it, but there's going to be plenty of options I get to first.
Yeah, and Maxey's becoming very scoring dependent. So
Right.
He's going to score more, and he's going to score more efficiently, but those assists are not going to be there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And one other thing just touch on in chat, because I know it comes up a lot. Somebody said, can you guys reference FanDuel prices also? It's always DK this, DK that. No, it would add like an extra hour to the show if we just did each site individually. In general, like the breakdown, what we're saying about the players is the same. Like their role, their everything else. If you're playing FanDuel and they are $2,000 cheaper than what we say on DraftKings, then yeah, it's safe to say they're probably a good value.
Right. Yeah, it would take an incredibly long time. But
because the thing is, it's not just saying like, oh, he's this price on DraftKings, he's this price on FanDuel, because you also have to keep in mind what everyone else is on the slate, because that all matters.
right.
So it
And
turns into like,
go
right.
ahead.
So it turns into like, oh, well, he's $2,000 cheaper on FanDuel, but this player on FanDuel is $2,000 more, and that one's $1,500 less. Like it ends up being its own show. So it's easier just like, yeah, if they're mispriced on FanDuel and we don't mention it, but you're looking at it, then yeah, they're still mispriced.
Yeah, and we got some free content today too that might help you navigate that. NBA player projections for Yahoo, DraftKings, FanDuel, all of them free at awesemo.com. You don't have to pay. You don't even have to have a sub for it if you want to check it out. NHL ownership projections are free as well. And if you want to become a sub, you want to join, you want to get the ownership projections every day, or the boom bust tool, or the top stacks tool for all of our other sports, top driver for NASCAR, top golfer tool for golf, all of that stuff, all of our sports, every piece of content, all of our tools, lineup builder. You get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on if you want to do that. Go to awesemo.com/join. Check out everything. All of them created by Awesemo himself. Surely you've seen his name up top quite frequently. He built these tools there, and they're managed as well by him and Steve Buzzard and Sean Zahn. So just some great DFS players out there. They put an insane amount of work into making these the best tools that are available to anybody. So if you want to do a week, a month, a year, one sport, all sport, doesn't matter. You can even do an express pass for less than $5 a week. Awesemo.com/join. Check that out. Houston, Miami. Let's talk about Chris. But first of all, I've been on a bit of a heater betting. You got to ride that wave because eventually it's going to crash.
Yeah, it does in DFS also. I'm well aware.
Yeah. But I live bet the Grizzlies yesterday. I got them as dogs down 5 with 10 minutes to go in the fourth. And I'm sitting back like, man, brilliant. I mean, this is easy,
Yeah.
They end up getting,
it wasn't easy.
No, they ended up getting smoked in the end. I mean, not smoked, but they could not come back. And we've seen that a decent amount lately. You just never know. I think they were like 14-point road favorites, Adam?
Yeah.
So
yeah, we've seen it a lot recently. Like there's been a ton of blowouts recently. And I think part of it, the schedule for a lot of these teams is getting really, really difficult in terms of back-to-backs, 3s and 4s, stuff like that. So I think that's part of the reason you're seeing so many blowouts in general. But it's not like they're all coming from the games you expect. So many of them are just games that are supposed to be competitive are turning into blowouts, or games that are supposed to be blowouts are going to overtime, or the favorite is losing or whatever. So it's still just like there's been a million blowouts, but it's still just been like difficult to say, oh yeah, this game's going to blow out.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, Houston coming off of a win against a good Grizzlies team. They are, listen, I'm telling you right now, Adam, don't want to get too confident. They're going to get absolutely annihilated tonight.
They should get torched tonight.
I mean, the doors blown off of this team. If they don't, I don't know what to say, but it is basketball. But seriously, back-to-back on the road against the Miami Heat. Might have Oladipo tonight too. Anyway, just throwing that out there for a little bit of context. It doesn't mean we can't look towards anyone for Houston, but personally, even at some decent price points, I have very little interest, not just because they're on the second of a back-to-back on the road, because this matchup sucks too.
Yeah, the matchup sucks. Road back-to-back sucks. Hangovers in Miami suck. It's just a really difficult spot. So, I mean, from a pricing standpoint, like, sure, there's upside for Christian Wood, Porter, Green, any of these guys. Dennis Schroeder, I'm assuming, is questionable. I don't know. He missed yesterday. But there's just not much that stands out. I think more likely as far as getting to Houston, and it's not – so this is a case where, like, it's not playing for it to blow out, but Houston is kind of an interesting team in that a lot of times when people ask about, like, you know, oh, who's going to play in garbage time, the answer is it doesn't matter because the guys that would play in garbage time aren't playing enough in normal time to get there anyway. But with Houston, you do have Garrison Matthews, you do have Kenyon Martin Jr., you do have Şengün, who all of these guys just at their normal minutes projections look decent. 4,400 for Şengün, 35 for Matthews, 38 for Kenyon Martin. Even in their normal minutes, they look okay. If this game does get out of hand, you probably are getting more playing time, at least for Martin and Şengün, probably for Matthews as well. So I do think those guys are kind of interesting just because, like, they could get there anyway. And then if the game blows out, they actually look even better.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah, still not priorities. Just like, I actually think I'm just more interested actually in those pieces, I think, than the actual good pieces.
How interested are you in Jimmy Butler here coming in a great spot? Again, are you playing it for a blowout? No. Crazier things have happened for sure. But Butler continues to pull decent ownership. I know his price tag continues to decline as well. But is he a priority for you today?
I think the price tag looks pretty good. The matchup's obviously good. He's been pretty disappointing lately, at least when I've rostered him, but I think it's hard to ignore an $8,500 price tag, assuming he's going to play around 34 minutes here in a good matchup against Houston. If he plays less than 34 minutes, there's a good chance he played well. Obviously, Miami is so much better than Houston that it doesn't have to be Butler that did well. You could certainly get Hero blowing them out by himself. You could get Bam blowing them out by himself, but it's a really favorable price tag on Butler, so no issues getting there. Bam and Hero, I think, both look decent as well, although their price tags are pretty expensive. Bam's actually more expensive than Butler. Hero's price tag continues to go up. And that Victor Oladipo piece does matter. If he comes back, I don't expect him to play a ton of minutes, but whatever minutes he's out there, he's going to be cutting into production. But also, it's just another body that is cutting into, potentially Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, if he's back.
I think he could play 18 to 20.
Yeah. Yeah, like I don't anticipate him playing enough that he's someone I'm considering at 6,600, but it's more so, does he knock Gabe Vincent from 32 minutes to 28 minutes? Does he, knock Caleb Martin from 22 to 24 to 18 to 20? If stuff like that happens, obviously it's a problem for those guys.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely takes any value that you had with Kyle Lowry being out and throws it out the window. Yeah,
that's pretty much how I see it. I mean, like, you could still get Vincent playing, 30 to 32 minutes, which in this spot would be decent at 4,800. There's certainly better value elsewhere on the slate. But I like it's still, if Oladipo's in, like, I still think Vincent's an okay value, but I feel a little better about him if Oladipo's out.
Let's talk about Portland and Minnesota then. So the Trailblazers, just everybody, red ink across the board, Adam. Anthony Simons is out. Justice Winslow remains out. The bench players, like some of these depth players, should be back. Hughes and Greg Brown are probable. It seems meaningless, but it's not when, they've been limited to how many bodies they've been able to put on the floor.
They had 8 last game.
Yeah, exactly. So it is significant, but Anthony Simons being out is at least going to open things up a little bit. Josh Hart was basically out for maintenance purposes in this one. So if we're going to the Portland Trailblazers they're big dogs, but Minnesota's not exactly a juggernaut defensively. Who do we want to talk about as our top options for the replacement of Anthony Simons? And is it definite? Like Brandon Williams right now has insane projected ownership.
I think he deserves it.
I do too.
I thought he was wildly under-owned last game. He was like 5% owned in the game that they had 8 guys. He's been very, very limited sample, granted, but he's been a very good fantasy producer this season. And now there's a lot of minutes available with Simons out. He should have the ball in his hands. I think at 3,800, he looks like a great value. He's one of the only guys on this team where his salary really hasn't moved at all for guys being out. Like Eubanks, Watford, Ellaby, they're decent values, but they have gone up a little bit in price. Elijah Hughes at 3K minimum is fine. Keon Johnson and Greg Williams are fine, but I feel pretty confident in Williams producing when he's out there. He's only played 97 minutes this season, but he has averaged 0.98 DraftKings points per minute, 26.5% usage rate, 23.5% assist percentage. And there's nobody else on this team outside of Josh Hart that's taking the ball away from him. Like normally when somebody like Brandon Williams steps into more playing time, you say, okay, yeah, he has a 26% usage rate because he's just been playing in garbage time all season. But this entire game essentially is garbage time in terms of who he's on the floor with, because he's out there with Keon Johnson and Elijah Hughes and Trendon Watford and these guys. Like there's nobody out there where it's just like, oh, that's the guy that's going to take the ball away from Brandon Williams, except for Josh Hart. And that's obviously only one player. So I think Williams looks great. I like the $7,400 price tag on Hart. If they're able to hang in this game, he should play a ton of minutes. He should produce at a high rate for whatever minutes he's out there. Eubanks, I still think looks fine at 5K. Again, I don't mind Hughes at 3K, especially if he starts.
It's an ugly team, but it kind of doesn't matter. And honestly, Brandon Williams, there's not even much reason to believe that if this game gets out of control, that he can't still be on the floor late in the fourth.
Yeah, that's a good point too. It kind of goes back to what I was just saying about Houston, where if Simons were in and Hart's back and all of that, I wouldn't be saying, oh, play Brandon Williams for the garbage time. But it certainly makes me feel better about Brandon Williams, knowing that if this game blows out, he's probably still going to play.
Yep. I don't see why he wouldn't at this point.
Yeah, I mean, what 5 guys are they playing ahead of him? Like, they're not going to say, oh, Josh Hart's playing garbage time instead of Brandon Williams. It's probably like Williams, Ellaby, Hughes, Johnson, Watford would be my guess. I mean, like you could throw Ben McLemore in there, or not McLemore. You could throw Blevins in there, but I don't know why they would do that. There's no real reason.
Play the rookie, you give him his minutes. Who cares? Okay, so on the other side, then we have Anthony Edwards doubtful, and then we're still waiting on some news. Taurean Prince is questionable. Patrick Beverly is questionable, so that could play a role here. The truth is these two teams just played each other. And while it looks like it was a huge blowout, a 14-point blowout, you and I talked about it, I think. I might have been Josh and me that were talking about this, but this game actually was competitive for a while. I mean, all of these guys got their full allotment of minutes. And I'm not saying it happens again, especially with Simons out, because he had a huge game from the floor, huge game shooting. But it's as good a matchup you're going to get right now for Edward or for Towns with Russell, and you're likely not going to have Anthony Edwards. So it's a 1-2 punch for sure here when it comes to this Minnesota team.
Yeah, obviously a very good spot for them. I mean, to me, these spots are like the trickiest in DFS, just in that there's so much volatility and there's nothing you can really do about it, because they're going to produce at a high rate. They're playing a terrible Portland team. There's also a good chance that they're just not playing much in the fourth quarter. But it's not like you can do a whole lot with that. I'm not comfortable saying, oh, I'm just not going to play Karl Anthony Towns because I think that he's going to score so many points in 3 quarters that he doesn't play in the fourth and he kind of just ends up being disappointing. I'm not comfortable with that, because if he plays in the fourth, you're going to have him. At the same time, I don't feel comfortable just jamming in Karl Anthony Towns, because if he gets 45 points in 3 quarters and then doesn't come back, that's an issue too. So there's just a lot of volatility in games like this, but Towns looks great. Very, very good matchup. His rates go up without Anthony Edwards, makes him look very good. I think, there's a lot, like I said before, there's a lot of good pay up options in that price range, but I would definitely say that he's one of them. If Beverly is in, he looks good at 4,900. If he's out, it's a nice bump in assist percentage for D'Angelo Russell, although I do think that he's pretty much correctly priced anyway. And then looking, like the other front court pieces, Vanderbilt, McDaniels are both decent. Malik Beasley's price did come up to 4,300. So I think Towns is the priority here. I think Beverly is next if he's in. But any of Russell, Vanderbilt, McDaniels, Beasley look okay as well.
4 down, 4 to go, man. Making some good time here. So let's hit on Yahoo's fantasy sports real quick before we keep it moving. Yahoo, daily fantasy sports. You want to get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum and also play on a very fun site with better payout structure than you're going to find anywhere else, lower management fees, rake, than you're going to find anywhere else. Well, all you got to do is use the link in the description or the one that Jordan Klein's throwing in the chat right now, and you'll get a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, $90 value when you sign up and deposit at Yahoo for the first time. I think all you have to do is, I think it's just $10 to deposit. That's all you have to deposit and enter a paid contest. And then they'll reach out to us. We'll hit you up. We'll get you set up. All the tools I talked about, like, what was it, 5 minutes ago? Every single tool is available to you. There's no strings attached here. You're not restricted from anything either. It's not like, you come in and you get the Awesemo Lite package. It's everything on our site. And Yahoo gives you $10 back in free credit. So if you deposited 10, they give you $10 back. You're essentially, all you're doing is getting a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum. Every sport, every tool that we have, entirely free for the entire month. Just use that link or in the description or the one in chat. Get set up. And if you're trying to expedite the process, email us at support@awesemo.com and we'll do what we can to speed that up and get you in as quickly as possible. You can use the tools for Yahoo as well. All of our tools you can use for Yahoo and all of the other sites. So check it out. Take advantage of that. And, well, why not? It's free. It's not free. You're getting $90 free value for free just by signing up with that link. Do it. Deposit, enter a paid contest, get your $10 back in free play, and start checking out all our tools over at Awesemo. And remember to join our Discord too, and our premium office hours channel in Discord, where you got the pros answering your questions all the time and helping you better your game. All right, Utah and Dallas. Let's make it happen. So Dallas, small favorites here at home. We'll kick it off with the Utah Jazz. I will say, when it comes to just overall defenses, like, both of these defenses are above average. Neither team plays at a particularly fast pace. As a matter of fact, the Dallas Mavericks now, Adam, playing at the slowest pace in the league by relatively wide margin. Utah, bottom 10 pace. This game, it is not to say that you can't see some big numbers here when you got guys like Doncic and Mitchell, but there's no, and Doncic is probable, but there's no doubt that it is going to be, or projected to be, probably the lowest scoring game on the slate.
Yeah, and I mean, pace and total and all that, it's not everything, like you were saying. There's still plenty of upside for some guys, particularly Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, but it's just very difficult to prioritize them when not only do you have a lot of faster paced / higher scoring games on the slate, but you also have teams that are missing players, whereas Utah's not. So I think Gobert is a little bit underpriced at 7,900 for a good spot against this Dallas front court. We know he's a very good point per minute guy. But there's, we've already mentioned several other centers that we really like. We haven't even gotten to Jokic yet. We haven't gotten to, San Antonio. We haven't gotten to the Kings and Knicks game. So it's the usual thing where there's a lot of really good centers. I think Gobert is one of them, but I also think that it's typically a mistake to just say, like, oh, Gobert is going to be the guy. Like, I'm confident Gobert is the guy that basically wins this coin flip against like 6 other guys, relative to their salaries. Normally you're just going to want to be spreading those guys around. Mitchell, sort of the same thing. I think that he's good, but he's priced about where he should be. And there's a lot of guards that look a little bit better relative to salary. Outside of that, I think pretty tough to get to the Conley, Bogdanovich, Clarkson pieces on this slate.
What about for Dallas? And I will point out too that Jalen Brunson is questionable here. So if he's out, maybe you see more Dinwiddie. I'm not necessarily sure. I would think he plays, but as of now, he is questionable.
Yeah, I mean, if he is out, I would assume it's Dinwiddie because we got Dinwiddie starting in place of Luka last game. So I
Right.
assume that you would just get the same lineup, but with Luka in place of Brunson.
Agreed.
Dinwiddie's price is up to 6,200. So, I mean, if he starts, he would look pretty good. If he's coming off the bench, it's not really a price tag where I want to take shots at Dinwiddie, assuming he's going to play 26 to 28 minutes. I think there's just better spots you can get to. If Brunson is in, he's likely to play a bunch of minutes at 6,500. But again, it's just that like if pricing, we had seen some slates recently where pricing was really tight. On slates like those, I would have more, I'd be kind of interested in the $6,500 Brunson. But today, when you can just point to, 10 different guys that are probably $500 to $1,000 underpriced, it just becomes really difficult to want Brunson. So Luka's the only guy on this team pulling ownership. That makes sense to me. 12-2, certainly a fine price tag for him. We know how ridiculously high the ceiling is. But, the counterpoint is still, he kind of has to be perfect there because there are so many good pay-up options tonight. It's not likely to be a slate where if Luka just hits his 58, 59 point projection where you're like, oh, I'm glad I played Luka. Chances are if that's all he does, you're going to have been better off going somewhere else. The reason that he still has value is that, for one, there's a bunch of really cheap plays on the slate that make it a little bit easier to get to him. And for two, he's obviously capable of going for 80. And to the first point there, it goes back to somebody in chat. It said, like, are you better off saving money and going to Towns or going up to Jokic on FanDuel? And the answer is kind of like, it depends, because like my answer is Towns in that it opens up a lot in your lineup, but there's so many good cheap plays that, and I think you'll see this on DraftKings in reference to Luka, there's going to be a lot of situations where you're like, okay, well, I can save $2,000 off of Luka and go to Trae Young, but I'm upgrading from like Brandon Williams to a $5,800 guy who's not necessarily even better than Brandon Williams tonight.
That last point is very a really good point. Yeah, like if you're going up from Brandon Williams, you're gonna, assuming that we get what we're expecting from him just in terms of minutes and everything. That, as well as I do, that 4 to 5K range is oftentimes, I don't want to say dead, but it's oftentimes just as volatile, if not more volatile, than a guy like Brandon Williams in his position tonight.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be Williams. Like the same argument can be made for like Jordan Poole, where it's like, oh, well,
right.
I can get to 7,300 instead of 5,300. Cool, exactly. But do you really want to? So I mean that's kind of that's why I think Luka still gets decent ownership tonight, is that the raw points to some extent matter. Like you're still going to need him to be the top scorer to really be happy that you have him. But if like one of the 10K guys goes for 6x and Luka goes for like 5.5x or whatever, you're still going to prefer Luka.
What's the weather like by you today?
Windy.
71 degrees, man.
Yeah, it's nice. No, it's nice. I thought maybe you could hear the wind because it's
no. I'm just saying, you know how rare it is around here to get it's 71, 68 right now. It's gonna be 72 today.
Yeah, it's 72
early March.
It's supposed to get up to 79 today.
79 by you?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, it's 72 right now and just super windy.
You're gonna go out for a run?
Yeah, that's what I do.
All right. Do you have a patio or a porch or anything at your place?
No, it's like I could climb out my window onto the roof if I wanted to, but no.
You do have a great view. That's why I was wondering if you
had no, that's like the one thing that like I don't have that I wish I had. Like between me and the water, there's another apartment that's like a floor below mine, and they're able to like go up on their roof and like they have like chairs and stuff. I'm always jealous of that. Yeah.
So you could do that? Like how tough would it be to get to your roof, or how dangerous? Is it dangerous?
I mean, I couldn't do it. Theirs is like set up for that. Like they basically have like a skylight that opens in their apartment and they can like climb up on the roof. Yeah. For me, I have to climb out my fire escape and then go up the ladder.
Okay. Yeah.
So like if I wanted to go sit on my roof, I could. It's not something I'm interested in doing.
Right. No, that's a little sketchy. All right. But yeah, you have a great view. Like you see the whole harbor and everything, right? In the docks, but
yeah. I got the harbor on one side and I have like downtown on the other side. The views are great.
Lakers, Spurs. Does it not feel like LeBron? And I know obviously there's some recency bias here, but you know how he kind of does this every year where the team just recently in the past, however many years, not every year, but where the team will just struggle and then he'll just decide that he wants to play basketball again. It felt like that the other day in that win against Golden State. Who knows if it continues, but he's coming off a 56-point game. And now they're facing the Spurs, who have questionable DeJounte Murray in this game. We'll have to pay Devin Vassell's questionable. We'll get to that. But I think again, though, the pricing when it comes to LeBron is what is odd, not odd, but you have Jokic at 12.6, right? Luka at 12.2, Embiid and Harden. James, LeBron sandwiched in between those guys, but he's the only one on that team right now that's doing anything. And then Murray's questionable. Towns is facing Portland. You have Trae Young against Detroit. How do you look at James today from a prioritization standpoint against this Spurs team that is not good?
Yeah, he kind of just looks like another very good high end play. Like, I don't think he's drastically better. I don't think he's drastically worse than a lot of the other guys. I do think that last game is an important reminder that it's to your best interest typically in DFS to just not attach narratives to what's going on. I think every time LeBron James' name has been mentioned on a show over the last week, it's just like, oh, LeBron James doesn't care anymore. He doesn't want to play anymore. And like I've acknowledged that like you get that kind of sense in some of the games, but the opportunities are still there. He's played 25 games now without Anthony Davis, and he's averaged 1.58 DraftKings points per minute. You don't want to just like tie yourself down to saying like, oh, I'm not playing LeBron James because I think LeBron James doesn't want to play or whatever. Like maybe that's the case, but certainly still just a ridiculous ceiling for him. Good matchup. Small forward eligibility is nice on a slate where you have a lot of centers that you like. You have a lot of guards that you like. I think that's one reason he's getting 27% ownership. But yeah, I mean, I think James looks good. I don't necessarily think that he's drastically better than other options in that price range.
Yeah, I totally get it. One more thing, though. These two teams play at top 5 paces in the league. So this could be, it should be a fast-paced game. He's a 1.52 fantasy point per minute guy with Davis off the floor. So just to everything you were saying, LeBron James can still very much have these games.
Yeah. He's also in the 25 games he's played without Davis. He's also averaging 36.7 minutes per game.
Yeah. I was good point. Yeah. He's coming off almost 39 minutes in regulation last game as well. So yeah, you're not getting a watered down version of LeBron James, which is a good thing. So there's that. If you're looking to play him, I think you summed it up nicely. He's still there, and it shouldn't be a guy that you're just ignoring. The rest of the Lakers, Adam, however, are a team that if you wanted to ignore him, I don't think it would be insane. You know, I get Malik Monk can have those games from time to time as a starter, especially if he's getting minutes. All of that's understandable. You've seen some solid games for Carmelo Anthony off the bench as well. But it's hard to ever prioritize any of these guys, especially when you have like the Golden State value around the similar price. Even in tournaments, you're just basically looking at, I think Monk is still fine because he could play big minutes and his usage has been usage really hasn't even been that high, right?
Yeah.
In the starting lineup.
He started 12 games this year without Davis and with LeBron, 19.5% usage rate, 32 minutes per game, 0.98 DraftKings points per minute. So like he's been productive enough to look pretty good. But like you were saying, there's just so many guys that are playing similar or more minutes tonight that are not sharing the ball with LeBron James and Russell Westbrook that are going to look a little bit better. I certainly think that at 7% ownership, Monk is a pretty solid option in tournaments. It's one of those where, so like he's 5,400 on DraftKings getting 7% ownership. Jordan Poole is 5,300 getting 58% ownership. If you wanted to give me 8-1 odds, I would take Malik Monk. But that's also not exactly how DFS lineups work, since there's other spots that you can, get contrarian. So it's a situation where, like, I think that at just talking about like those two guys at that price point, the ownership gap is probably wider than it should be in terms of chances of success. But since you have so many other spots in your lineup, you're still going to be saying a lot more frequently, yeah, I'll just play Jordan Poole here. He's one of the best plays on the slate, and I'll get different somewhere else. But you can at least, in a lineup here or there, say, okay, well, I have a bunch of really popular guys elsewhere. Let's use Malik Monk at this price.
Right, exactly. Spurs, we're still waiting on DeJounte Murray, but if he plays, I don't know, man. Anytime DeJounte Murray plays, especially in a spot like this, I think he's at least somewhat viable. We have him at 5% ownership right now, which is kind of wild, given that this guy literally flirts with triple doubles or posts them in every game he plays. His minutes, his minutes, the fluctuation in playing time can be a little bit more severe than some of these other top tier options. But DeJounte Murray, 5% today against the bad Lakers defense and a team that plays very fast.
Yeah, and obviously he's just been an absolute monster without Derek White this season. Really good matchup against the Lakers. Nothing to dislike there. 13 total games now without White. 1.61 DraftKings points per minute, 30% usage rate, 45% assist percentage, and a 12.5% rebounding percentage. He's also averaged 35.6 minutes per game. If he plays, I think he looks like a great pay up option. I do also assume if he's confirmed in that the ownership projection comes up. In our most recent update, he's at like 7%, which to be fair is higher than normal for a questionable guy. So I don't know if we're actually considering he's questionable or not. But I assume that like if we get confirmation he's in, that ownership comes up a bit. But at the same time, it shouldn't get to a point that's really worrisome because there's so many other options in that price range that people are going to play that it's tough for Murray to get that much ownership tonight.
Daryl, welcome to Daryl Jones. Daryl Jones, welcome to Team Awesemo, brother. Glad to have you here. Adding to the team day by day. Hit that thumbs up too if you haven't done so. I saw some people in chat that were trying to get that going. And if you haven't already, that's okay. Still time. Still got 13 minutes to go. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Join the team. Anybody else for the Spurs you want to hit on? And if Murray's out, that might be worthwhile to talk about what we're doing there.
Yeah, I mean, if Murray's out, I'm assuming you get a $3,500 Trey Jones kind of as a free square. Not that you need that on this slate, but he would just be another insanely good value option. You would also probably get increased opportunities for guys like Lonnie Walker, Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, but Trey Jones would, I think, stand out as a top value if Murray is out. Jakob Poeltl looks fine, but again, like you have Gobert at that price range. I would give the edge to Gobert between the two, and there's just so many good centers on the slate that still not a priority. But I do like the spot for him.
Let's talk about the Warriors and a man by the name of Nikola Jokic. Pretty decent, or I'm sorry, same game. Talk about the Warriors first, and I almost got ahead of myself there. But the Warriors, no Curry, no Thompson, no Wiggins. Draymond Green's going to be back in a week to 10 days. That's the report. No Gary Payton either. So, I mean, this is getting wild, Adam, just in terms of value here. Against a Denver team that, it's a neutral matchup for all intents and purposes, and it doesn't really even matter at this point. Jordan Poole, Damian Lee, Kuminga, Moses Moody, Kevon Looney, like all of these guys are going to be popular. And I think you'd be hard pressed to find reasons why they shouldn't be, just given all of the top players on this team are out, all of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not like you have, it's difficult to get any sort of real sample for all three of Curry, Thompson, and Wiggins being off the floor this year. But Poole has played 280 minutes without any of them. He has a 31.9% usage rate, 28% assist percentage, 1.16 DraftKings points per minute over that stretch. The only negative that I can point to with Poole is he is at least, while he is wildly underpriced at 5,300, he's at least at a price point where there are pivots if you wanted them. Like he can't just, if he goes for, let's say, 28 DraftKings points, which to be clear is well below his median projection, but if he were to go for like 28, 29, 30 DraftKings points, you are actually in trouble. Whereas when you talk about a lot of the other value, they're so cheap where it's like, yeah, even if they go for like 23 at 3,300 or 3,400, you're not dead. So that's like the one slight negative on Poole is a ton of ownership at a price point where there are alternatives, but he very clearly looks like one of the best plays on the slate, one of the most likely guys to succeed. I would expect him to play north of 30 minutes here, averaging 1.16 DraftKings points per minute without those guys on the floor. To me, looks absolutely like one of the best plays on the slate. Similarly, you have a $4,500 Kuminga, who I expect to start most likely and play a lot. Otto Porter Jr. at 4,600 should play a lot. Porter's only played 156 minutes without those guys on the floor. His rates don't really change. He's still like a 13% usage rate, 12% rebounding, 12% assist guy. Jonathan Kuminga, 26.6% usage, 1.05 DraftKings points per minute without Thompson, Curry, or Wiggins on the floor. Looks like he should get a nice usage bump here. Makes him look very good at 4,500. Kevon Looney at 4,100 looks like another solid center option, good value play. Likely to give you mid-20s in minutes as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. Yeah, it's just a team where you're going to want to get to a lot of guys.
How many are you willing to? It's still early, but three. Yeah,
I think so. It's still they still have enough bodies. Like, so you have Poole, Kuminga, Looney, Porter, Lee. So that's 5.
We're projecting 10 in the rotation.
8, 9. So. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So like Kerr's not the type of guy typically to just say, oh, we're running 8 guys just, because we're shorthanded. So
We
I
don't
do
need
think
to.
that, right. I think that their available guys all play. So it's not a situation where I think you're just getting like 36 minutes from everybody regardless. But yeah, I mean, I think, and there's so many. The other thing is it's an 8-game slate. There's a ton of really good plays. I don't really want to just be locking, 50+% of my lineup into Golden State. There's
Right.
still only so much production to go around in terms of raw points.
Who are your favorite ones right now then? Just given price and ownership and position.
Poole Kuminga at the top. I think Looney at 4,100. The issue just being, that he is a center, but I think he still looks really good. Damian Lee, as far as value goes, at 3,400. He's not a very good point per minute guy. 0.73 DraftKings points per minute without them on the floor, but he is likely to play enough minutes to, be a solid value here.
All right. Yeah, it's just huge. And we have all of this news already. So, it's not even like anything's pending at this point. They could break late and suppress some ownership. It's all going to be there today. Nikola Jokic last night in that overtime victory against the Pelicans, 95 DraftKings points, Adam, 46, 12, and 11, 7 stocks, just absolute domination from Nikola Jokic. He'd been, recently had you been playing him at his 12.5K price point, you've been a little disappointed. Well, he made up for that yesterday, assuming you had him. Is this a spot on the second of a back-to-back where you're maybe a little leery about the type of minutes he plays? 43 minutes last night.
A little bit. So, and this is something that I'd seen come up in chat too. Normally, I would say I wouldn't even be surprised if they rested him here, but with Golden State resting their guys, Malone did kind of blast Steve Kerr for not sending his regular players on this trip. And basically said like, yeah, it's a shitty schedule for everybody, blah blah blah. Kind of a bunch of stuff that you probably don't say if you're then going to rest Nikola Jokic.
Well, no, because you can make it a fuck you thing.
Well, yeah, but it's also a home game for Denver. Like, I don't think.
Yeah, that's true.
Like the people that are paying to go to this game are going to care a lot more if Malone does that than Steve Kerr is.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine the people that are like, oh, we're going to see Jokic face off against Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. This is going to be awesome. It does suck if you're a fan. I mean,
yeah. Like it almost that when I was in New York, Brooklyn was playing Denver, and I considered getting tickets to go. I was like, oh, Durant playing Jokic, and then it was the game. It was like I think the first game where Durant sat out. Harden was obviously not playing, and I was like, man, I'm glad I didn't get tickets to go watch Patty Mills against the Nuggets.
It sucked.
Yeah,
they didn't even have Seth Curry yet.
Right, exactly. It was like when it was their legit, basically G League team. So yeah, I mean, it sucks for those guys, and it's obviously they could just decide like we're resting Jokic, but that is just the reason that I think it's a little bit less likely. Is it's a home game for Denver. It would be pretty shitty for people that have paid money and are already getting screwed here. And Malone was pretty negative about Kerr. So it would be kind of weird, but assuming he plays, I wouldn't be surprised, if maybe he plays 32 minutes instead of 34 or something. But Denver also wants to win games, and they're not good enough to win without Jokic. I don't really care who they're playing. Like their non-Jokic guys are so bad right now that I also think it would be pretty ballsy to say, oh yeah, we can beat this team without Jokic because you're not very good without him. So I'm assuming he's playing at least close to normal minutes. Looks really, really good here, clearly, like he always does. The only issue is what it normally is, and it's that he's a center, he's really expensive, and so the opportunity cost is really high, the actual cost is really high, and there's a lot of just really good plays on the slate. But any amount of Jokic you get to, you should feel pretty good about.
I do think there's a very good chance that Will Barton sits today, though. And I know Malone said he doesn't think it. What's that?
I said sure.
Yeah, I know Malone said he doesn't think the ankle is all that serious, but it's the second of a back-to-back. He departed yesterday's game, did not return. And I don't know. It just feels like one of those spots where it would seem prudent to say, all right, it might not be serious, but if you're dealing with an ankle sprain, sit out for a day. We'll get you back out there next game. If he's out, what do we want to do with the rest of the squad?
Yeah, I mean, it would open up more minutes for guys that don't matter, like Forbes and Forbes, Rivers, but also potentially a little bit more from Morris, a little bit more ball handling from Morris, a little bit more assist opportunities from Morris, maybe more minutes for Bones Highland. Somebody said this was a 4 and 5 for Denver, unless I can't read. No, it's not. I know they have one coming up, but I don't think this is it.
It's this. This is a 4 and 5. Yep.
They,
No. 4
yeah,
and
they
6.
played the second,
4 and
the
6.
sixth, the seventh.
4
yeah.
and 6. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know they have a really bad schedule coming up, but this isn't a 4 and 5. Yeah, so I mean, if Barton's out, I think you probably don't get a whole lot that changes because they probably throw somebody like Reed or Forbes into the starting lineup, and they kind of don't matter.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't make a huge difference. We'll see. Hey, at least if Jokic is out, you get to watch DeMarcus Cousins go nuts.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you have a bunch of Jokic and he gets ruled out, obviously just get Cousins into like as many lineups as you can.
That game against the Houston Rockets was insane.
Yeah, Will Barton not scoring an actual point in the entire first half was pretty special.
Yep, and Cousins 24 minutes, just incredible. Would you, if you were projecting Cousins for 24 minutes and Jokic was out today, would you want to play him at 5,300?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Ready to wrap this up?
Yeah.
All right. Last thing before we do. Breaks of Gods. Hey, fantasy sports fan. Breaks of God. Sorry. What if you caught a break with the potential to net a couple $100,000 with less than $100 investment? Well, we got great news because breaksofgod.com is the place to catch that break. Breaks of God is the latest sports card collecting trend to catch fire in America and is how sports card collectors of all ages are building high-value card collections without huge investments or risks. It's quickly become a popular and economical way for sports fans to get potentially high-value or rare cards without having to buy a $1,500 box or case themselves. From football to baseball and everything in between, there are many slot options available under $100 so you can get in on the big money action. Breaks of God box breaks dramatically increase your odds of getting big money premium sports trading cards for a fraction of the cost of expensive, hard-to-get boxes. All the cards are broken from sealed premium boxes live on Instagram, and the cards are shipped directly to you for free when the live break is over. Slots are limited, so act fast. And to learn more about how you can hit big money cards and get 30% off your first break, go to breaksofgod.com/A30. A as in Awesemo 30, as breaksofgod.com/A30 to get 30% off your first break. Also, make sure to follow them on Instagram at Breaks of God. All right. Last game. New York.
Do you
Knicks.
intentionally sound like Cartman every time you do that, Reed?
Yeah, I love it. Oh my God. It's a great show. Great show. It's one of my favorites. Were you not a South Park fan?
No, but not like in the sense that I dislike it, just in the sense that like I've never really gotten into it and watched it yet.
Yeah, I love it, man. Love it. Still do. Been around for what, 25 years now?
Yeah, something like that.
I keep watching. It's not what it used to be, but I mean, some of the greatest television ever has been South Park.
Yeah, it's on my list of like just go back from the beginning and watch.
It's so good.
But it would also take so long to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like each episode is probably 21 minutes without commercials.
Yeah.
Do you have HBO Max?
Yeah.
HBO Max has every single episode on it. Every single from.
It's one of those shows too. Like I have to be in the mood for it, like just to watch anything animated.
Oh yeah.
Like it was actually when I was in New York and had COVID and couldn't leave my hotel room. Like they actually had a marathon on Comedy Central, but I just like wasn't in the mood to watch it. And I was like, damn, this is a wasted opportunity. Yeah,
you'll get there. One day you'll just be in the mood. The older stuff, like the old stuff, is good. But personally, for me, my favorite stuff was the middle seasons. Like maybe like seasons. I don't know specifically, like 6 through 13 or something. That's where some really, really good stuff happened.
Yeah.
New York Knicks, Sacramento. Were you a Simpsons fan? Because I never got into The Simpsons ever.
No, I mean, same thing. Like if it's on and I happen to be watching it, it's kind of like, yeah, okay. Like I don't dislike it, but I've never watched it.
What about Family Guy?
Same kind of thing.
For me, it's always just really been South Park.
Yeah, I think the only, and I don't even know if I'm still caught up. I think the only animated show that I ever like at any point was caught up on was Archer.
Never seen that.
No, you would probably like it.
I don't watch cartoons. Like,
yeah, neither do I. Like that's
yeah, right. That was the one you watched. I never watched them. I watched South Park. That was like the only.
And even Archer, it was just like it was on Netflix or whatever, and I just watched whatever 4 seasons there were, or whatever it was.
Adult Swim to me, I always found it just odd. I could not get into any of that stuff. But, the Talking French Fries or whatever that show was. What was that? I know Jordan knows. I guarantee he knows. No, with the talking burger and the shake. No, no. Producer's supposed to know everything. No, I wouldn't. Crap. No, I'm kidding. I don't. I haven't, but I don't. I can't get into that stuff for some reason. South Park resonates with me. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, right? Yeah, that was it. Yep, that's it. Can't get into that stuff. But South Park, man, different plane.
You would like Archer.
Would I? You think?
Yeah.
What channel was it on? Just curious.
FX, I think.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. All right, maybe I'll give it a whirl. Let's wrap it up with the Knicks and the Kings here. And one more time, just for good measure here, hit that thumbs up. We got 600 people watching to kick off the week. All right. In business, boys. New York Knicks. What are we doing with the team? Now, they are, in fact, playing on the second of a back-to-back. Throw that one out there. How do you get to and I'm not saying you can't or you can, but the Barretts and the Randalls and the Burks and all of them today? Because if there's one thing we know about Barrett, Adam, this guy will have some rough games, but he is just going to continue to shoot no matter what. His usage is very nice right now, and so is his playing time.
Yeah, and it's not just, the usage either. He's actually playing well. He's not just getting like empty minutes and bricking a bunch of shots. It seems like he's like legitimately improved and
huge minutes though lately.
Oh yeah. 38, 40 minutes. I think he played 43 a couple games ago. Last night
against Phoenix in regulation.
Yeah. Last night played 33, but that was a game where he had some foul trouble. Then the game, got a little bit out of hand, so he didn't play at the end. But I expect him to get 38 minutes, give or take here. In the minutes he's played this year, 890 minutes without Kemba or Rose on the floor, 29.5% usage rate, 1.06 DraftKings points per minute. Even though the price tag's going up, I still think he looks good in this matchup. Point guard, small forward on DraftKings is really useful as well. He's just the type of guy where, no, I don't think you're necessarily building around him in the sense like if you're hand building a lineup, you're not starting with RJ Barrett, you're starting with the value and then you're figuring out what fits in. But I think with that multi-position eligibility, an 8K price tag, that is very reasonable in a good matchup. He's just going to slot into a lot of lineups as a useful piece. I think Julius Randle at 9,500 is okay. A little bit more difficult to get to since he only has one position and he is $1,500 more expensive. Alec Burks, same kind of thing, decent, certainly not a priority for me. In tournaments, I do like Mitchell Robinson. He's projected for 6% ownership right now. He dealt with a little bit of foul trouble yesterday, then didn't play in the fourth quarter, still got the 26 minutes. I had mentioned it before the Phoenix game the other day when he went nuts. I think people have been a little bit low on his playing time because he just had like a weird stretch of games where he got hurt and then he was constantly in foul trouble or blowout or both. There's nothing to suggest that in competitive games he's not playing north of 30 minutes, and he should just wreck the Sacramento front court.
How much is he?
5,200.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got legitimate 40, 50 fantasy point upside.
I'll always ride for for Mitchell Robinson in spots like this. We talk about it a lot. If he's not in foul trouble and he's getting those minutes, you've seen what he's capable of doing. It's not like he's a great scorer, Adam, but he's a high percentage scorer. He's a good shot blocker. He's a good rebounder. So you really just put it this way. If this is the way I prefer to look at this oftentimes. Like, let's just say, because we're talking tournaments, not cash.
Right.
We can kind of embrace the volatility here. Let's just say that Mitchell Robinson averaged 35 minutes per game. He is not 5,200. He's probably 7,200.
Right. The way I think about somebody like Robinson, and the reason I think it's so appealing right now, whenever he has the risk of being in foul trouble, certainly, and that keeps his average playing time down. But when he's not in foul trouble, right now, no Noel, no Gibson, he's playing huge minutes. It's something I've talked about with Jaren Jackson a lot this year, where like you really prefer Jaren Jackson when like if he's not in foul trouble, you want to know he can play 34 minutes. And that hasn't always been the case this year. Right now with Mitchell Robinson, if he's not in foul trouble and the game's competitive, he's playing 32 to 36 minutes. So it gives you that massive ceiling. And even just looking at, value options at that position, for example, he's $1,100 more expensive than Kevon Looney. But given, again, just how much value there is on this slate, I don't think it's going to be difficult to find $1,100 for anybody. So let's just, kind of say that they're comparable. Right now, Mitchell Robinson's projected for 1/4 the ownership of Kevon Looney. I don't think that should be the case.
That's crazy. Yeah. Robinson played about 26 minutes in 3 quarters yesterday, and that game just got out of control. They were up by 32 points. He never came back. They just throw in Jericho Sims behind him and let him close the game out. So yeah, man, I'm with you there. Real quick before we wrap up with Sacramento, Steve Case, welcome to Team Awesemo, bro. Sweet looking badge you got there. Daryl Jones, using that 3-month free super chat. You boys teach me everything. Appreciate all you guys. Appreciate you too, man. Jake with the super chat. Do you guys think the line moving to 7.5 hints no Jokic? It could hint that people think there's going to be no Jokic, but it doesn't necessarily hint no Jokic.
It could also just hint that people are moving the line because Golden State's missing half their team.
No. It moved towards Golden State.
Oh, moved toward Golden State. Never mind.
Yeah.
I mean, people think that the line opened too high and Denver is shit without Nikola Jokic.
It's very possible too. Yeah. Super Chatty, what's up, man? Thanks for the super chat. Our German friend hanging out with us today. Let's wrap this up with the Kings.
What if Robinson bombs tonight and Randall eats? Then you should, if you know that, then you should put Randall in instead of Robinson.
Yeah.
I mean,
also,
I don't know how to answer that.
Well, there's zero. There's no connection there. Julius Randle's $9,500. Mitchell Robinson's $5,200.
Yeah, and they don't play the same position. Like they don't have anything to do with each other. But on a general scale, what if this player does well and that one does bad is not really something you can make lineups around.
No, not at all. Hey, Domantas Sabonis, wrap this up with the Kings here. I feel like it's been a long time since Sabonis has dealt with foul trouble like he has in Sacramento. It's really weird. Like
playing a lot of center.
I know, but still he's played center before. I guess.
Yeah, but normally not for all of his minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a lot though. I mean, you gotta get that shit under control, man. Because if you do, the guy's going to be playing a lot of minutes, but that's been an issue with him. There's no question the foul trouble has gotten in the way of some really big performances. Yeah,
without a doubt. He's averaged 32.3 minutes per game with Sacramento, and a lot of that has just been because he keeps losing minutes for foul trouble. We've seen, in competitive games where he's not in foul trouble that he can get to 37 minutes, which would make him look very good, but you also just can't ignore how frequently he's getting in foul trouble. Even if you're not going to project 32 minutes, I have a hard time going more than like 34, given that he's averaging 32 minutes. I think that it would be pretty aggressive to go higher than that. And if you go to 34, it makes him look fine, but pretty tough to like prioritize him over Towns, for example, for 600 more. So another just, pretty decent tournament option given how high the ceiling is, but pretty low probability play, I think, given all of the alternatives that look a little bit better.
I'm with you. Yeah, it's concerning right now. Is there anybody you want to get to for Sacramento tonight?
Not really. DiVincenzo played 34 minutes last game. I think that's kind of just a situation, like we've been talking about, where the combination of Trey Lyles, Dante DiVincenzo, Davion Mitchell, and now I guess Chimezie Metu in place of Jeremy Lamb is going to play a nice chunk of minutes, but it's also going to matter, who's playing well. 4,500 on this slate for DiVincenzo, knowing that his minutes range is pretty wide, isn't a spot that I expect to really prioritize. I don't really see much that stands out here. I mean, you can always take shots at Sabonis or Fox, but Fox's salary is up like $1,200 from 2 games ago. There's not much that stands out from the Kings at all.
All right. Hey, you got your tournament videos coming out today?
Yeah, tournament videos, injury report with Greg.
Sweet. And hey, over on the Odd Shopper channel, I got my Monday through Friday top NBA bets, whether it's sides, props, a lot of props. I enjoy talking about props, and I think you can still getting good on some of those. Check it out. It'll be out probably around 2:00 Eastern time today. Would love to have you come over there, subscribe to the channel, shoot the shit, leave a comment, do your thing, and stick around throughout the day. NHL strategy show coming up at 2:00, locks before lock at 4:30, deeper dive at 5:00. And then I'll close it out with Josh Engelman at 6 p.m. live before lock for tonight's 8 Gamer. Follow Adam at Ship My Money, DFS, me, Loughy_D. And shout out to your boy Jordan Klein producing the show. See you back here tomorrow. Peace.